Good morning, everybody. My name is Larry Jacobs. Welcome to Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio on September 4th, a couple of days after Labor Day 2024. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, and also a pleasure to have my returning guest, who I'll bring on in just a minute or so. That's Hayes Greenfield. Hayes, what can I say? Hayes is a musician, a composer, a sound artist, an educator. He's been working with young people and young kids in all kinds of capacities since the early 90s. Okay, he has a course, Effective Transitions, Essentials at the Academy, the National Head Start Association's online professional development teaching portal, and offers video courses all about creative sound play for young learners, okay, which is his new book. And this is what he's been proposing for years. This is an outside-the-box thinker, and the stuff works. Hayes has written a book from the Eye on Education book, one of that series out of Routledge, and it's a teacher's guide to enhancing transition times in classroom communities and SEL and executive function skills. And this is really good stuff, and all his stuff is good. I'm so glad he wrote the book. He even put my name in the forward, which I really appreciate, the acknowledgments, which I really appreciate. We're going to archive the show at ace-ed.org. I hope you check that out. Okay, all our podcasts that we do. And without further ado, let me bring on the one, the only. Well, everybody's from New York today. Hayes Greenfield. Hi, Hayes. How you doing?
Hi, Larry. It is so great to hear your voice again and to be here and to share this stuff with you and your audience. It's just a privilege. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm thrilled you're here. You're a good man, my friend, and I love having you on. Like I said, you're an outside-the-box thinker, and if education needs anything, it's outside-the-box thinking. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And again, I want to say the book is called Creative Sound Play for Young Learners. I'm sure it's available on Amazon. Is it available on Amazon? I shouldn't say that so simply.
It's Amazon and all of online book dealers.
Yeah, this is really cool. And again, young learners, and we're going to talk about the importance of all this. And I just want to say, you're a musician. You've written for films and all that sort of thing. Okay, what led you into education? Because we've talked about this, and it's not really where you were, but it's where you are now. So where did it start?
Well, it started when I started working at an after-school program in '93 with kids that had been at a place called The Door. You probably know The Door. Do you know The Door?
I do.
So I was working there, and then one thing led to another, and then I made a CD. Roy Lichtenstein, the artist, was my saxophone student, and I made a CD with his help of children's tunes, all jazzed up, called Jazz in the Past. And from there, it kind of led me into, from The Door, which handles after-school program, kids 13 to 21, the Jazz in the Past led me into pre-K and early childhood, and then I did an assembly program, and elementary school, middle school, music, and then started working with special needs kids. Yeah. And this work comes out of the work with special needs, because it was there that I was, I'm dyslexic. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I don't think you did.
And dyslexia is a really, I came up in the 60s and 70s, and that was nobody knew much about it.
Exactly.
And,
You're right.
And reading is incredibly challenging for me.
Yep, sure is.
When I was working with special needs kids, or I should say now neurodiverse, it was about listening. It was about listening to them and hearing what they're thinking, or how they're thinking, and it kind of like turned my head around. And I started to see that, sound and not music. I don't know if I shared this with you last time I was on about how the biggest problem with one of my biggest obstacles is when pre-K teachers hear the word sound, they think music, and they think, oh man, I got to know about music, and this has absolutely nothing to do with music. This is about high. Like, can you give me a high bird sound? Can you make it sound like a bird? Come on, Larry.
Me? Are you asking me to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. What? Cheep, cheep?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Can you make a low lion? Can you make a low sound like a lion's roar? You're amazing. You're a master.
Thank you.
And okay, and this is exactly for any of your teachers exactly who are listening. This is all we're working with. This is all what it's about. It's about pitch, volume, and duration. So this has nothing to do with music. It's all about
right. It's about sound. And, as I was looking at all this, I was thinking, when we have friends who have grandchildren and all that, we see the kids and their young grandchildren. And, it's interesting. The sounds. I look at it because I was thinking about the sound matters. Okay, you're not necessarily making music, you're just making sounds. And they're making sounds. And it's just
absolutely.
Sound. And actually that's a pun, because creative sound play is sound, no pun intended, for young learners.
Right.
It's a sound way to learn. But I got to ask you, and I want to say that, I'm going to read this again, A Teacher's Guide to Enhancing Transition Times, Classroom Communities, SEL, and Executive Function Skills. And I know the book, but I want you to articulate it. Okay? How does why is sound important for kids? How does it fit into those things?
Okay. First of all, children love to make it alone or in groups. It gives them fun. Children make sound on their own. You see them walking down the street. It's always making sound. And sound is like part of our DNA. It's part of the human experience, right? And all we're doing is we're plugging into the one thing that they absolutely love to do, and having them make a deliberate sound in an intentional way, or an intentional sound in a deliberate way. So it could be just as simple as, when you say, like, the Teacher's Guide to Enhancing Transition Times, right? What is the most challenging time of the day that teachers always have? In pre-K.
Are you asking
transitions.
me? Or are you going to tell me?
No, it's a rhetorical.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
So it's a rhetorical question.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. When you say transition time, is transition time coming back from lunch? Is transition time moving from one subject to another? When you say transition time, what's your definition?
Okay, in pre-K, transition times happen. Everything that you just said was a transition time. It can be moving the kids from the carpet to the tables. I mean, I've talked to many directors, pre-K directors.
I know you have.
They say,
by the way, I want to say this. Everything you say is well researched and backed up by professors at universities all over the country. So, just do this here. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so transition time, pre-K, is really about how children begin to navigate during transition times. And when children can navigate during transition times, they're really school ready. They're prepared for school. And, transitions happen throughout the day, and they're very challenging for teachers. And for the most part, a lot of times, if you think about this, 20 to 25% of school time or that's involved with transition times becomes wasted time because it's challenging.
That I would agree. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a whole lot of time that, let's say we want to move the kids from the carpet to the table, and we just want to count. Let's say we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a transition time that those kids are going to, as soon as they hear you, don't have to say count with me. They're going to start to count with you. And as you get loud and then you get quiet, you're developing their active listening skills, which is part of their inhibitory control. You're making the sound go different ways from quiet to loud, and they're following you. That's cognitive flexibility. You're helping them to learn the different ways in which to do it and follow directions. That's working memory. So right there, just by counting and getting your kids focused for 15 seconds, we're plugging into executive function skills, inhibitory control, working memory, and cognitive flexibility. And then, bam, bingo, beep-beep-bop. The transition's done. You got the kids all focused, all engaged. Say, okay, let's move to the table. That's as simple as it can be. And any teacher who's listening to this, think about this for a second, because if you start to play with sound, there's so many ways to work with it, so many ways, and counting is mathematics. So
yes,
right there, we're getting the kids. We could play with counting backwards. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1.
I love this.
And that's cognitive flexibility. So out of something so simple, and all we're doing is plugging into what every child, whether they're verbal, nonverbal, neurodiverse, it doesn't make a difference. And we're integrating our curriculum, STEAM, math. So
it just works. What did you? I want to ask you. Okay, and I know we've talked about this before, but I want you to say it again. We've worked with a lot of teachers. Okay, when you go in, and you said the first thing they think of is music. We're not talking music. We're talking sound. Okay,
right.
And it's using sound to get these kids to understand a lot of things, executive functions, okay, SEL, et cetera, et cetera. When the teachers use this, okay, what are you hearing from? This is what I want to ask. What are you hearing from teachers? Okay, what are you hearing from them? Not the professors. And I love the professors. Please don't misunderstand. But I'm talking about the teachers you work with. Go ahead. What are you hearing from them?
Teachers, they love it, and I see teachers. It's a game changer for them, because one of the things that teachers hate when I go in to do lectures and talk to teachers, and I say, can you imagine looking forward to transition time? And they look at me like I'm crazy and I've got two heads. And all of a sudden, after about
that's funny.
But their eyes start to open up, and you can see the lights go on in their head. And they come up to me afterwards and they say, man, I can't wait to get back to school and start to try this, because it helps focus. Because, think about this. Transitions, which are these difficult challenges, they happen every 35 minutes, 45 minutes. All and not all transitions, not all sound transitions work for every transition, right? There's a series. I have four different ways of approaching it that really are like make it completely easy. You have this. This is what teachers don't realize, and teachers are my heroes. So I'm speaking to you with all of my heart and my spirit invested in this to make something helpful for you. Is that transition times become these incredible jewels, because you can practice all day long on an activity. So what happens is, for example, in that one of just doing the volume, right, changing it up, once your kids start to really do it and are ready for it, they can start to lead it, because they're going to want to lead it. You're going to hear them doing it, and they're going to want to take agency and lead it. And so what are we doing right there? That's about social emotional learning. That's raising self-esteem. That's including mindfulness. It's helping teachers manage their classrooms better. So it's all of a sudden it becomes this game changer, this new thought, because I have teachers who tell me that they now look forward to doing transitions. So on their way home from work, they're thinking, which transition worked and which didn't? And maybe they'll do this, or they're working on this subject matter, or this part of the curriculum that they want to work with. How are they going to integrate that with sound? And all of a sudden, their whole day changes. Their approach, they're inspired, they're reinvigorated. So it becomes this generative learning ecosystem, and it's beautiful, and teachers love it.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. And my next question is, I know this is for young learners, but where does it really end? I mean, sound.
Well, I'm going to tell you that, sound does matter, and just to even lead up to it does matter. It's something that I'll tell you where it ends, but I'm working on that. That's our next.
Okay.
Because it's
sorry,
incredible
I jumped the gun on you. Yeah.
No, but I have to remember to say something else. We got to talk about active listening, because that's really important.
Active listening. I'll write it down here. Yeah.
Okay, but so where it ends is I'm actually been talking to a lot of corporate people, some trainers and some coaches, because sound when we get into the more, the program starts out with transition times, and for the first 3 or 4 months, and then as teachers and children become aware of this and focused and more engaged, pitch, volume, and duration, there's a levels of complexity we can add, where including, for example, percussion instruments, a whole sort of percussion instrument, that can then becomes like you have a different textures that you're working with, and and there's all ways to play with them, and it takes a little bit more time. So you always have to do your transitions, but if you're starting including instruments, it might take maybe do it 2 or 3 times a week. Half hour, you got to get them out, you got to put them back. And then towards the latter part of the year, the last trimester of the year, we make sound sculptures. And sound sculptures are pieces that children can paint an artwork, make an artwork, and have that serve as a roadmap for how they want it to sound, and have their fellow peers and their students play it and perform a concert for their family and friends. And or it could be a story, it can be a narration, it can include movement, it can include dance to it. So they're very specific, and I think that in the corporate world, learning how to listen to each other better, and
agree.
Create, thinking outside the box. It's being able to dial down your judgment. It's not about what we all think. What's good and what's bad. Sometimes it's better to just sit in like a suspended thing and not worry about what if it's real or not real, but to do. So that's a little abstract, but let's get back to something.
No, I don't think it is abstract, and I think it's really important for people to understand all this, why all this really matters. Okay.
Well, it matters.
Wait, I got to say something, my friend. You have stumbled on something here that most people don't pay any attention to, and they have to.
Right.
They have to.
Well, that's because we're also sound asleep, Barry.
Yeah.
We're sound asleep and we don't tune in. And one of the things that's really important, this is what teachers forget too a little bit. Please forgive me, any teacher. I don't want to offend you. I love you.
You're not offending anybody.
Okay. Well, when we take mindful moments to actively listen, and really actively listen to all the sounds around us, and take a minute and just with our students listen. Don't go on automatic pilot. Really be in the moment and listen and hear where the sounds are coming from. What kinds of sounds? Are they high pitched? Are they low pitched? Are they loud? Does one get softer and then get loud again? Are you listening and outside all of a sudden there's a horn? Is it a truck horn? Is it a car horn? How long does it last? Is it short or long? And when we're doing this as teachers, you're providing your students with license to be mindful and just actively listen, and opportunity. So when we're doing license and mindful and being opportunity, and then we make different kinds of sound at different volumes and different ways, loud, quiet, we're providing children an awareness that what they do matters. And I have multiple teachers in multiple areas in different cities, 3-year-olds coming in and saying, when the class gets really loud, they're feeling uncomfortable, so they're able to stop, listen, assess, and reflect, and then say, instead of getting louder, they say, it's too loud in here. Can we quiet down? And what they're saying, I can't focus. Too loud. And that's because they've been given the opportunity to be heard, to be listened to have the opportunity to make different kinds of sounds, to discuss them, to think about them, to do it. So, like, for example, when kids come in and they're really loud and it's abrasive, oftentimes we got so much on our plate, we just say, be quiet, you're too loud. Or we say, use your inside voice. That's your outside. Instead, if we can get to the point where a teacher can go, whoa, that's a bit loud. I bet you can't make that same sound quiet. And the kids challenge, and they do, and then you make it medium, and then make it really loud again, and then make it medium. You're providing, the teacher's providing that child to develop the technical ability, the ability to make the sound at different volumes, and to hear that what they do, they're in control of it. They matter. And it's this is where it's like sound, if we tune in, we get older and we tune out sound, because it's,
we do.
And when we tune
in,
we're in the moment. We have an opportunity to really focus and engage and listen. And this is something that a lot of teachers, when I'm talking to teachers and I talk about this, so many of them come up to me and say, thank you, because we forget about the moments of just quietly listening. And how
you're bringing up something that strikes me, okay? And kids, I'm thinking particularly boys, they like fast and they like loud, okay? And they figure the louder something is, the more powerful it is, so to speak. And if I want to be powerful, okay, let's say a kid in a classroom, I'm going to be loud. All right? But what you're saying, and I love this, is that kids have to learn that quiet or quieter, okay, is as good as loud if you want to be, quote, in control and get your points across. Okay? And that's an important thing for kids to learn. And I probably still haven't learned it. Ask my wife. Okay?
Well, we all struggle with that.
Yeah,
but absolutely, and that's where that commercial. Remember the E.F. Hutton commercial where they talk about
when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen and they cup their ears. Is that the one you mean?
And because he's very quiet and very
exactly.
He was talking. I once went into a classroom. I was teaching a recorder class to fifth graders, and I put this program together. And what was really great. It was a recorder class is not taught well in schools because it happens once a week. I insisted, and the school was really great. They gave me I could do it. I did it for 3 weeks. I did it 3 days a week, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It was great.
Schools have yet to figure out that to improve their math scores, they need to teach more music. Someday they'll figure it out. We'll go from there.
So I went into this class, and I don't know how I did this. I did not utter a word. Really, not one word until the very end, where I said, "See you later." And everybody, for the first 2 minutes, they were like, these are fifth graders, and they were like, "Wow, they're noisy." And then all of a sudden, they got quiet. And man, it was. I don't know how I did it, and all I just remember was it just came together. It was one of these moments, these magical moments of just complete focus, and I did not utter a word, and the class was in tune for the 40 minutes. And these are fifth graders, So I think silence. Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, silence is just, and it's so important because it's silence gives us time to pause, time to breathe, and silence builds tension.
It does.
It
does. It's it's like there's that. I'll just use this as a modern analogy. There's that movie, A Quiet Place. There's a couple of them now, I think. I've never seen one, but I know it's about a world where silence matters. Okay, or the monsters attack, so to speak. Okay, and my point, but that says something because we just have to put everything sound into perspective, and it works for the young kids. We got to go in just a couple of minutes. Hey, I want everybody to read the book. It's called Creative for Young. I think a lot of teachers, students, and I think like you did, you got a lot of professors of education talking about this. It's at creativesoundplay.com. It's creative sound play for young learners. Okay, it's just so important. You put so much into it, and it works. It's years and years and years of research and actually doing.
Yeah, it
and
is.
you made
it's
a
like
difference,
20, over 20 years.
That's
and
just unbelievable.
So can I plug my website?
Of course.
Video curriculum. My quick start guide is available, and it's available through Padaya, which is a learning management system. So anybody who wants to do it, it's and you get a certificate once you pass the 4 modules, and and you see kids. It was shot in schools as well, so there are children doing the work. There's teachers doing it. I'm doing some of it, and there's few videos of me just doing it by myself. But for any teacher out here, it's really it's a game changer.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good way to put it. It is a game changer because sound matters. This is Hayes Greenfield, everybody. The book, I have it linked, Creative Sound Play for Young Learners, creativesoundplay.com. Good stuff. Hayes, thanks a million for being here, buddy. I appreciate it.
Larry, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to you. You too. And I'm glad you're in the book. I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you. Thank you so much. No, man.
Thank you.
You're beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, you are too. Keep it up, man. Okay? I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Take care.
Bye. Hayes Greenfield, everybody. Check it out, creativesoundplay.com. I'm Larry Jacobs, and we're going to archive at ace-ed.org. Thanks for listening.